Suppose you're at the grocery and the cashier rings up all of your purchases and then asks how you want to pay. You open up your wallet and can't decide whether to pay with cash or with a credit card. Which one do you pick? Well, this buying decision may not seem like much, but if you use the wrong card for your transactions, it could cost you a lot of money. So in this video, I'll tell you how to avoid making this common money mistake and make the right decision when it comes to your purchases. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and that little notification bell icon so that you don't miss out on any of our video updates. Plus, it helps us spread the Thrive Wise love to help more people thrive wisely. Now, let's begin. Which card do you think is better to use, debit or credit? I know it can be hard to know when the best time to use each card, but on top of it all, does it seem to matter? Is there really a difference? Well, a recent poll showed that only 14% of people usually pay with cash. This means that credit cards are now the most popular way to pay for goods and stuff. One reason might be for convenience. You see, we don't have to carry around cash when we use these cards. But they can also hurt us if we don't use them right. But before we talk about why someone might choose one card over the other, let's quickly talk about how both credit cards and debit cards work. Let's start with debit cards. With debit, you pay for something with your own money, which is taken right out of your bank account. It's pretty much the same as cash, except you can use your debit card instead of carrying around a lot of cash when you buy something. This is preferred over cash since we all know that money is, sometimes dirty. Now let's talk about credit cards. When you buy something on credit, you don't use your own money to pay for it. Instead, you borrow money from a lender. You already know that if you don't pay your money back on time, you'll have to pay a lot of money in interest fees. Now, one problem with debit and credit cards is that they can be used almost anywhere, which means you really need to know which cards to use at the right time. Now, if you ask financial experts like Dave Ramsey, they will say that debit cards are the best way to pay and that credit cards should be suspended. But I don't think it's that easy to decide either to pay with debit or credit. In fact, I think that each kind of card is best for a certain kind of shopper. And in this video, I'll explain why you might want to use one or the other, depending on how you spend your money. But first, what do most people think about the debit versus credit question? In a survey done in 2018, payment processor TSYS asked 1,222 people which form of payment they liked best. 54% of people chose debit cards. And over the years that TSYS has been doing its US consumer payment study, debit cards has been the most popular way to buy things at the gas station, grocery store, and discount store. But it is also becoming the preferred way to pay at department stores, taking the place of credit cards. Before, credit was the most common way to pay at department stores. This was probably because people like to use credit for bigger purchases. But now, most people prefer to pull out their debit cards. So, if most people pay with debit, this must be a clear answer to the question debit versus credit, right? Well, let's look at it when it makes sense to pay with a debit card and what else this method of payment has to offer. Reason number 1, you're not good with your bills. A few people have their bills set up in a way that makes it easy for them to pay their bills every month. But these people are few and far between, which means that most people do have trouble paying their bills on time. If you know you're not capable of paying bills, you should use a debit card. You won't get a bill for using it like you would with a credit card. Reason number 2, it keeps you away from debt. Using a debit card is an excellent way to stay out of debt if you don't have any. Since a debit card is linked to a checking account, you can only spend what's in the account. In theory, this is good for many people. Recent studies show that more than 55% of Americans have credit card debt, and the average balance is around $6,000. So if you pay with debit, you can enjoy the ease of using a credit card without running the risk of going into more debt. Reason number 3, you're practicing financial discipline by limiting your spending. I often say that the envelope method of budgeting is a fantastic way to keep your spendings in check, because you can only spend a certain amount of cash each month. But most people find it uncomfortable and inconvenient to carry around large amounts of cash. Using a debit card to pay for things can solve this problem. Most banks will let you set a limit on how much you can spend with your debit card. This means that even if you wanted to buy that new iPhone 14, you wouldn't be able to do it with your debit card. As you can see, there are times when it makes sense to pay with a debit card. Having said that, there are many good things about paying on credit. which I will now explain. But before that, I would like you to do something for me. Pause this video right now and do me a huge favor by hitting the like button and click subscribe if you are new. If you did, you're awesome, and thank you so much for your support. And going back on when to use credit cards. Reason number 1, security. Which card would you be more worried about a stranger having if you lost your wallet? Your debit card or credit card? Well, most people would probably say the first one, and they'd be right. When thieves use your credit card without your permission, they spend money from your credit card company. But when thieves use your debit card without your permission, they can easily spend money from your checking account. In other words, if someone uses your credit card without your permission, you'll have time to report and deal with the fraud before the bill is due. But when you use a debit card, the money is taken out of your account right away. Whether the charge is real or not, getting your money back could take weeks or even months depending on your bank. In the meantime, you might miss important bill payments or have to borrow money for day-to-day expenses. Whether you're a victim of credit card fraud or debit card identity theft, federal law sets your level of liability. The Fair Credit Billing Act, or FCBA, limits a credit card user's responsibility to $50. Most credit card companies go one step further and don't charge credit card holders anything for fraudulent transactions. But even if your card insurer doesn't offer that protection, the FCBA says that you're not liable for any unauthorized charges if you report that card lost before it's used. One of the main reasons experts suggest using credit cards, especially for online purchases, is that you have less risk of being sued. Reason number 2, getting more credit. One of the main reasons why credit cards are better than debit cards is that they can help you build credit. When you get a credit card, how you use it is reported to the major credit bureaus and shows up on your credit report. These credit reports are very important because they are often looked at when doing everyday things like buying a house, applying for a job, or getting a cell phone plan. In fact, if you have good credit, not only will you be able to get these things, but often the better your credit score, the better rates you will get. Reason number 3, rewards. Wouldn't it be nice if everything in life was free? If you have to spend money on everyday items anyway, you might as well make it worth your while by getting rewards and other perks. These days, credit card companies try to get you to sign up by offering very good rewards programs. Most of the time, these rewards come in the form of cashback or points. Cashback is usually between 1% and 5% of each purchase or statement total, and points can be worth different amounts depending on how much you spend and where. Some credit cards even have sign-up bonuses where you can get a lump sum of cash or points when you first get the card. This makes it even more appealing to pay with credit instead of debit or cash. The best part is that you use your credit card more. You start getting more better rewards, which makes spending a little less painful. Reason number 5, short-term loans or credit. When most people charge something on their credit card, they just make the purchase and move on with their day. However, smarter users know that when they charge something, they are getting a short-term loan. When you use a debit card, you know that the money comes out of your checking account a few days later. But you get a grace period when you use a credit card. You don't have to pay for the purchase until your billing cycle is over and your statement balance is due. If you pay off your bill in full, you can usually avoid paying any interest at all. In other words, you can get a loan with no interest between when you buy something and when you pay your bill. Now, it's time to answer the intriguing question of whether you should pay on credit or debit again. There is no one answer that works for everyone, and if you think there is, you are making a big money mistake. So first of all, who should use debit? Paying with a debit card is best for people who are new to managing their money or have trouble being frugal, because debit cards limit how much you can spend and let you avoid paying bills every month. You are less likely to overspend or get late fees, which only make things worse for you if you are already struggling financially. Now, it's true that if you only use debit cards, you can't get rewards or build credit. But these drawbacks aren't worth the trouble that could come from careless credit card use. On the other hand, credit should only be used by people who know how to handle their money. Once a person has set up automatic bill payments, has a regular budget, and can handle their debt, only then should they start paying with credit. When you pay with a credit card, you run the risk of going into debt and having to pay ridiculously high interest fees. The benefits of cashback and extra payment protection shouldn't be pursued until you have a solid financial base. Well, that's basically how you use your credit and debit card. And thank you guys so much for watching today's video. And hey, it seems that YouTube thinks that the next video can completely transform your financial situation. Watch it to find out whether they're correct. And please don't forget to click the subscribe button to see more videos on how to thrive wisely. Till next time.